What's going on, guys? In this video, I'll be reviewing the entire 2022 NHL entry draft. Obviously, we're just going to be looking at the highlights here. Definitely an exciting draft. A lot happened I did not expect. For starters, Slafkovsky going first overall in Montreal Canadiens. I really thought that was going to be Shane Wright. I think in my mock draft, I said like 99% chance it was Shane Wright. The 1% happened, I guess. Slafkovsky there goes to Montreal, shocking the NHL world by passing on the consensus first overall pick, the centerman, in Shane Wright. And then after that, it got crazier as Devils go defense, take Nemec, so two Slovakians go 1 and 2. Cooley there goes 3 of the Coyotes, which is where a lot of people thought he was going to go, but it's crazy they didn't switch up their plans and take Wright. They stuck to their guns and kept Cooley, so then Wright drops to 4 to the Seattle Kraken. Kraken have to be ecstatic. I mean, they now have Shane Wright, Matty Beniers as a 1-2 center punch for the next decade. That is outstanding. After that, you got Cutter Gauthier at 5. I personally didn't think he was going to go that high, but honestly, thinking about it, he's kind of like the perfect player for Philly. He's a big power forward, maybe like a JVR, but with more upside. After that, you got Jarek Check to the Blue Jackets. I think a lot of people thought, this is around where he would go, so that pick makes a lot of sense. Help out that blue line of the future. Then this pick here, of course, Ottawa trading number 7 overall, a second and third for Alex DeBrincat. I talked about this in the trade sim video, but I could not believe that trade. I thought Ottawa fleeced the Blackhawks. Like Alex DeBrincat, who's a 24-year-old 40-goal scorer, not just one time, he's done it twice, went for about the same as like some good veterans go for at the deadline when you know they're not going to re-sign with you. DeBrincat is like a pending RFA, but still, like worst case scenario, Ottawa will get 3-4 first-round picks from him if somebody gives them an offer sheet, which is more than they gave up. So it's insane. I think, yeah, trade of the day, just crazy. And with that pick, Blackhawks took Kevin Korchinski, which I thought was a little high for him. I think they obviously wanted defense. Jarek Check just went. Korchinski was the next best available, but I think I would have definitely rather some of the forwards available. After that, you got Detroit taking Marco Kasper. I saw a lot of talk about Detroit actually going this route. I know in my mock I had them taking Brad Lambert, who really fell in the draft, but when I saw Matthew Savoy was available, I was hoping they'd go that way. Then went with Marco Kasper, who I think was definitely probably one of the more safe picks. He's already played in a men's league, and he's done okay for his young age. I think Savoy has the higher potential. You can see he goes to the next pick there to Buffalo at 9. Really cool thing about that, if you guys watch my Buffalo Sabres franchise, we also got Matthew Savoy, so I'll be cool to see if him and Cousin become a duo like they have in my Sabres franchise series. Now next to number 10, the Ducks take Pavel Mintyukov. You can see he's Russian, but he's already playing the OHL, so everything going on with the Russians right now shouldn't affect him too much. At 11 here, this was really surprising for me. The Sharks trade out of that spot for a 27th pick, 34th pick, 45th pick. Looking at that for number 11, I feel like they did not get enough back. Like they dropped back 16 spots, and 11's, that's a top 10 pick essentially. I think they should have gotten more than a first and a couple seconds, but regardless, Arizona there gets Connor Geekie. So I mentioned, Shane Wright, Matty Beniers, future 1-2 for Seattle. Arizona's future 1-2 is Cooley and Geekie. Not quite as good, but still, pretty impressive for them since right now that center position for prospects is not looking good. They turned that around there early on in the draft. Matachuk there to Columbus at 12. I was really shocked by this. I thought for sure, I think I mentioned in some of my mocks, if they went Jarek Check at 6, they would then go with a forward at 12. You had Nazar available at this spot, Kamel, Lekermaki, a lot of good players. They decided to go with another defenseman, Matachuk, but I mean now, between Jarek Check, Werenski, Boquist, Carson Kuhlman, like that decor is going to be very good in the future, and they already do have, some solid forwards, of course, with Johnson, Sillinger, Line, etc. Nazar here at 13, the Blackhawks. So this, of course, came from the Kirby Dach trade. After the Devils took Slafkovsky 1, they weren't done yet. They then make this 3-way trade happen. First trading Romanov for 13th overall, which I thought was a great trade for the Canadians. I didn't think Romanov's value was that high. The Islanders, I think, overpaid a little bit, considering, again, I mentioned in my trade video, they traded Devin Taves for 2 seconds, who's a better defenseman. But then Montreal flips that pick with a third to get Kirby Dach from the Blackhawks. So very interesting. I think Montreal definitely won the Romanov trade. The other one, though, I think I actually give the edge to the Blackhawks just because Kirby Dach hasn't been too impressive his first few years. Obviously, he could bounce back on Montreal. He could become the player we think he was supposed to be. That's why he went 3rd overall. But if he doesn't, this is a great case of Blackhawks, selling while Dach still has value, opposed to waiting until his value is basically 0. Kind of like maybe what the Oilers do with Yakupov. If they trade him maybe a couple seasons earlier, there'd be teams that still think he could rebound. They get a lot more for him. I'm not saying Dach's as big a bust as Yakupov, but just an example. And I think the Blackhawks made a great pick here, getting Frank Nazar at 13. After that, you got the Jets getting Rucker McGroarty at 14. A little higher than I expected him to go, but still, good pick. Going to be playing for Michigan Wolverines, so obviously I'm a fan. After that, Jonathan Lekermaki at 15, the Canucks. I think that's a really good pick. Also a little late for him, but Swedish forward, can play wing, can play center. Love that pick. And with the very next pick, his teammate Noah Osling goes to Buffalo Sabres. Now, I actually did predict he would go to Buffalo, but I thought he would go at the 28th spot after they took Leckermack at the 9th spot to kind of have that duo. Instead, they get Savoy, so I think, they're still pretty happy. Of course, Osling here is the first-round pick coming back from the Eichel trade, so he's got a lot to live up to, along with Krebs and Tuch, who I think have both been pretty solid so far on Buffalo. Then 17, I think, potentially the steal of the draft. Nashville Predators get Joakim Kamel. I'm not sure why he dropped so much. One of the best shooters in the draft. I think the Preds are going to love that pick. Then you got Liam Bichsel there to the Dallas Stars. Swiss defenseman, really big body. A little higher than I expected him to go, but if he turns out to be like a solid top 4 defenseman, not a bad pick at all. After that, Liam Ogren there from Minnesota Wild. I think great pick. I personally had him higher than Osling. I think a lot of people did, so Minnesota gets a good player. Ivan Miroshnichenko, I actually love this pick for the Capitals. Everyone's kind of liking him to Ovi as he likes to take that clap from Ovi's spot. The fact that, he's overcome cancer already, he's fit to play, all the Russia stuff going on. He still goes to number 20. I'm happy for the dude. I think if it wasn't for all the non-hockey stuff, he probably would have been closer to a top 10 pick. So to still see him go in the first round is really cool. Number 21 there, the Pittsburgh Penguins get Owen Pickering. Really solid, big two-way defenseman. I think that's a great pick. Ducks there at number 22 get Nathan Gaucher, I think is how you say it, not Gaucher. At least that's what the draft people were saying. Maybe they're wrong. That's a bit earlier than people were expecting for him, but beginning of the year he was ranked a lot higher, so it probably does make sense. Jimmy Suggerud there to the Blues, 23, around where we expected. Minnesota there at 24 gets Danila Yurov, another Russian player from the KHL. So they kind of did what I predicted. I thought they were going to go Miroshnichenko with their second first-round pick, but he was gone, so they go Yurov, who I actually thought would go before Miroshnichenko. So I'm not sure if it's as good a steal as Kamel, but I think Yurov at 24 is a great pick for the Wild. 25 here, the Blackhawks trade up with the Leafs, took on Mrazek's contract. I think this is great work by Kyle Dubas. Drop back 13 spots and shed almost $4 million salary cap this year and the next. Once we, of course, look at the Oilers trade, you'll see why that's so good. Sam Rinzel here, defenseman, American. Don't know too much about him, but obviously, hopefully, it's a good pick for the Blackhawks. Philip Misar here, another Slovakian. Gets taken by Montreal at 26. Very cool. So maybe him and Slavkovsky can kind of be on a line together in the future. After that, 27, Philip Bystedt there. Swedish centerman to the Sharks at 27. He, of course, comes back from the Connor Geekie trade. So if he ends up being about as good as Geekie, that's a great trade for them. If not, Sharks fans will be pretty upset. 28 there, Yili Kulich. He was the Czech centerman. That's the third and final Buffalo Sabres first-round pick. I think that's solid value for him at that spot. 29 here, so this is Arizona Coyotes pick, originally Edmonton, but Arizona took out Kassian's contract, I think like 3.6 the next couple years, almost the same as Mrazek's, and they got to move up 3 spots in the first round, not 13 or whatever, but they also get a second and a third round pick from the Oilers. Now the picks are way in the future, the third there 2024, the second 2025, but I don't know, is it a case of Chicago didn't get enough back for Mrazek, or is it a case of the Oilers paid too much? I think it's a little bit of both. I think the Blackhawks should have probably also gotten back a third, and I think the Oilers, if they're giving up that second, they need to add the third as well. I think, that'd make those two trades a bit more fair. And with that pick, the Coyotes took Maverick Lamoureux, who's a big defenseman, 6'7". A lot of people compared him to Logan Stanley, who's been pretty solid for the Jets. I'd say he's like a top 6 defenseman, not quite top 4. So if Lamoureux turns out to be that, probably a little early to take him, end of the first round. Probably should have been like a second rounder, but not a terrible pick. And obviously, his parents love each other, so that's good to see too. Next year, number 30. Now, speaking of steals of the draft, I think Brad Lambert to the Jets here could just be that. Obviously, Kamel at 17 to the Predators, I think, was great value, but Lambert at 30 might be even better. He's a guy, a lot of people obviously are torn on. That's why he fell so much in the draft. He could be a guy that misses, never kind of reaches that full skill set, but if he does, he could be a guy like, a Pasternak that fell late into the first round. Tarasenko fell right into the first round. Not the same play style, but, the same sort of player. We're looking back, why did he get drafted so late? Hopefully for the Jets case, he does turn out, and if he does, him, Perfetti, 1-2 as your centerman. Maybe he plays wing for you with Connor, with Ehlers. Looks like a great top 6 in the future. Love this pick for the Lightning. Number 31, Isaac Howard. How do they always end up getting these steals? He was supposed to be like a top 15 pick or around there. This guy, the most swag in the draft, that's for sure. Actually saw Nash use his old stick, which is kind of cool. So, he's a fan of the NHL community. And yeah, 31 for Isaac Howard, I think is a great pick for the Lightning. And it's actually kind of crazy. I didn't realize they still had this pick, but apparently they kept it and got rid of their next 2 first. So I think Howard could, be a big piece for them if they're still competing for those cups in 2-3 years' time. Number 32, last pick of the first round, Reed Schaefer there of the Oilers. This is a little bit early for him. He was supposed to be more like a second-round pick, but once we get to this point in the draft, it's kind of just all up to the scouts where they have their list. So again, hopefully it works out for them. I believe he played for the Thunderbirds WHL, had a good season. And after that, guys, on to day 2 at the start of the second round. I'm not going to go over every single pick. I feel like this video would end up being 3 hours long, but I am going to point out some picks that stand out to me. I think Yager Furkus there to the Seattle Kraken was a nice one. He's got a lot of offensive upside. Ryan Chesley there to the Capitals, I think is a nice pick. Good, solid two-way American defenseman. He's the guy who's got your report reminding me of Jacob Slavin, so if he ends up being even 3/4 as good as Slavin, that's a great pick for the Capitals. And they're actually picking here after trading Vanacek the Devils with a second-round pick, which was number 46. The Capitals were able to move up 9 spots in trading him, as well as get a third-round pick. So I think that's pretty good value there for the Capitals. Move up 9 spots, get your guy, plus add a third-rounder. Obviously, with Vanacek leaving, Ilya Samsonov clearly going to be the starter for the Capitals next year. I'm not sure if Copley will be the backup or maybe they'll bring in a veteran. Time will tell. You got the Leafs first pick there, the draft, Fraser Minton in the second round. Looking at some other picks, Detroit there took Dylan James. Now, I do really like who the Devils took with the pick from that trade, and Seamus Casey, who's another player committed to Michigan. I think both those teams actually end up getting solid defensive prospects, so if they end up being about as good as each other, that means that the Devils also got Vanacek, and all they had to give up was a third-round pick. Vanacek, in my mind, is like a solid backup goalie, low-end starter. I think he played about the same amount of games as Samsonov this year, so I think a good trade for both teams, all in all. After that, some other guys, you got the other Jack Hughes going to LA there at 51. Detroit, of course, had another pick. Looking for some other players that I think, stuck out to me. I'm probably going to miss some trades, so I'll review those after, just in case. Third round here, again, the Kraken, Ty Nelson. A small defenseman, he's like 5'8", but he's got a great shot on him. Really good point production for the North Bay Battalion, so he's just kind of an all-offensive defenseman. I think good value there beginning the third round. Looking for some other players here that stick out to me. The other Elias Peterson there going to the Canucks, I think is so funny. They're now both on the same team. I will say Jordan Dumais here, the Blue Jackets, ended the third round. He had a really good season in QMJHL. I think that's good value. Same with Bryce McConnell-Barker there. He's playing for the Sioux, I believe. Goes to the Rangers, last pick in the third round. Moving on to the fourth round here. Not gonna lie, guys, nothing's really jumping out to me here in the fourth round, but I do know in the fifth round, one of my favorite Spitfires got drafted. Where is he? New York Islanders, Matthew Maggio. I really hope that pick, turns out for the Islanders because I'm a big fan of his. He should be playing back the Spits this year just to see how he does. 1 year older, more experience. Sixth round here. I mean, at this point, I'm not really sure how many players I'm going to recognize, but maybe somebody will jump out at me. Seventh round here, same thing. Looking for some guys, looking for some names. I do know. Where is he? The last pick in the draft. We got to give him a shout out. Ivan Zigulov, Belarusian goalie there, goes the Avalanche. We got to give a shout out to him. So I do think I missed a few trades. Want to give my comments on them. Obviously, the DeBrincat trade, the three-way trade, Mrazek trade, the Cassian trade. Husso, so I missed that one. Goes to Detroit for third-round pick. I think that is great value for the Red Wings. Kind of a similar goalie, honestly, in Nhl. Had like a coming-out party this year. More of like a tandem goalie than a true starter. So him paired up in Nhl as a tandem in Detroit, I think is going to be really good. When one of them gets hot, you just let them play till they cool down. Then you go with the other guy. Neither one has really proven themselves to be a true starter in the NHL, but I think both those guys playing like 40 games, we should be able to get some good goaltending this season. And for only a third-round pick, too, I think that's great value. St. Louis obviously couldn't afford what he's asking for. We paid him almost $5 million, which is definitely a bit expensive, I will say, but we have a ton of cap space. We still have $31 million. And obviously, too, that means Binnington is back to being the starter for St. Louis because Husso kind of stole his job during the year. The Vanacek trade there. The DeAngelo trade, totally forgot to comment on this one. I feel like the Flyers there got a pretty good value. Like, DeAngelo put up a ton of points this year. Obviously, he's an all-offense defenseman. He doesn't play D at all, but he puts up points. I think the Flyers are kind of missing that on their back end, especially if Ellis is still injured for next season. I'm really hoping, fingers crossed, he's able to make a healthy comeback. But second, third, and fourth for a guy that put up, I'd have to look it up, 51 points in 64 games. Like, that's really good value. Obviously, he comes with some baggage, but plus 30 last year as well. I know plus minus and everything. That's impressive. 0.8 points per game. Like, yeah, if you actually look at guys who play the full season or whatever, he's probably like top 10 defenseman in points per game last year. That's kind of crazy. So I'm hoping for him all the attitude stuff is under control. Has a good season with the Flyers there. Of course, Carolina gets a lot of picks back. Surprised they moved on from him, but I'm thinking maybe they just didn't think they could afford him with, whatever they plan to do this summer. And then Luke Kunin there, the Sharks. They have definitely needed some more depth at forward to give up John Leonard there in the third-round pick. Not a big price. Probably could have gave up a little bit less, I think, but not a terrible trade overall. So that is my review, guys, of the 2022 NHL entry draft. I thought this one was a ton of fun. Let me know in the comments section what you thought was the biggest surprise of the draft. And as always, guys, hit that thumbs up button if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe if you haven't. Have a nice day, guys. Goodbye.